Hello everyone, welcome back to Bite-Sized Summaries, where we take books and summarize them chapter to chapter for those who don't like to read or don't have time to read. So this book is split up into sections, and we'll be starting the first section, the first chapter, and this first section is called The Fundamentals, Why Tiny Changes Make a Big Difference. And this chapter is basically, this section is going to be basically talking about why habits are so important and what is the correct mindset to go into habits and in general, like your self-help journey. So why talk about it again? Well, it's important to know the details because you'll know that in your self-help journey, a lot of times you get discouraged, and a lot of times when you get discouraged, you end up stop doing the good habits that you brought along the way, thinking that they didn't matter. But in reality, they did, and you just didn't see what was going on in the back end, quote unquote. So we'll be splitting up these videos into main summary points. That way you can get the main points to take away from the chapter. And you'll find these summary points actually at the end of the chapter for this book specifically. So it kind of makes my life a bit easier. So the first summary point of the chapter is habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Getting 1% better every day counts for a lot in the long run. So before we get into the point, the chapter starts off talking about this British bicycle team from, I believe it was 1908 to 2003. These guys only won one gold medal. Basically, these guys totally sucked for a good 100 years. In fact, they sucked so badly, the top bike manufacturers wouldn't even sell to them because they didn't want to lose sales, having people think that, well, the bikes suck and that's why they were losing. Now, everything changed when this guy named Brailsford came, and he implemented this strategy called aggregation of marginal gains. I think you can see where this is going. The idea was that if you broke down everything that bicycling had to do with, from the helmet, from the bike seat, from the clothes that the bikers were wearing, and you just improved everything by 1%, you would in fact make a huge, huge difference. And that's exactly what they did. From just changing the bike seat to make it more comfortable for the bikers, and so on and so on. The team actually won 5 Tour de France in 6 years after implementing these changes. Also from 2007 to 2017, they won 178 world championships and 66 gold Olympic medals and Paralympic medals. The craziest part of all this is that they actually didn't do much in terms of training. You'd think that for the best team, they were probably doing some crazy amount of training. They were on the road biking 24/7 or doing something insane, but in fact, they just made small changes to little things. And in fact, you can implement this in your own life where you make small changes in your life and do multiple of those, and it can actually make a huge return. For example, waking up earlier in the morning rather than later. When you wake up earlier in the morning, you have more chances of being productive than if you were woke up later. Even let's say you woke up at 1 and just worked for, let's say, 3-4 hours straight. If you woke up in the morning instead, you could have worked even longer because you had more time, you had more energy, you could have ate something, whatever it is. Not only that, when a lot of us wake up, we end up zombie scrolling on our phone through TikTok, Instagram, or whatever. But if you woke up earlier, you might still end up doing that, but you would have more time in your day than versus if you woke up later. Another small change you can make is buying an alarm clock and putting your phone to the side, having your alarm clock wake you up instead. Now imagine if you made several changes like these and the amount of return it had in your productivity. The second summary point is that habits are a double-edged sword. They can either work for you or against you. If you look at the chart, you can see that improving 1% every day for a whole year, so 365 days, will have improved you by 37 times. And you can see the math there. Versus if you became worse 1% every day, you would have diminished to absolutely nothing. So based on the math, you can see that 1% in one day doesn't seem like a lot, but through time, it actually makes a huge difference, whether that is a good habit or a bad habit. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're in your self-help journey. A practical example you could use is memorizing one line, not even one ayah, not even one verse. We're talking about one line in the Quran every day for 365 days. How much do you think you would have memorized at the end of a year? One line probably takes us maybe a minute, 5 minutes if you're doing some revision as well. Well, at the end of it, you would have memorized 24 pages, which is entire juz, 1/30th of the entire Quran. Although, you probably don't want to spend 30 years memorizing the entire Quran, but just to put into perspective of how much one line would do. Now, if you did 2 lines per day, then that would be 50 pages of the Quran, which is a lot. Just goes to show you that improving 1% per day adds up in the long run versus, you doing 10% and then doing that weekly, or just never end up doing it again because it's a lot on you on that day. The third summary point is small changes often appear to make no difference until you cross a critical threshold. The most powerful outcomes of any compounding processes are delayed. You need to be patient. The example I really like in the book is basically a guy hammering a rock for a long, long time. At the end of it, you'll see that the rock breaks. And to the outsider view, it'll seem that he just hit it that one time and it broke. But in reality, it took him a lot of hits on that rock to break it. And that's just how habits work as well, that you need to keep going until you hit that critical threshold where you see that major change. But you needed all those days where you worked on yourself to get to that point. I'll share with you guys something I've been doing in my self-help journey was trying to learn the Arabic language, which is very difficult. I wouldn't say too difficult, but it takes a long time. It takes a lot of effort. And a lot of times it seems like you're making no progress. I've been learning for over a year and still can't understand lectures, maybe just like 75% of that. But when I think about it back to when I first started, I've made 100 times improvement from when I started. And if I just keep going, then I'll reach my goal of finally being able to read Arabic books and watching Arabic lectures. The more important idea is that I'm on the correct trajectory and not where I'm at. And this follows smoothly into our next summary point, which is the fourth summary point. An atomic habit is a little habit that is a part of a larger system. Just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules, atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. Which is the idea of atomic habits, is that it is a part of a larger system of many other smaller habits that you're doing. This leads to a major summary point, which is the fifth summary point. If you want better results, then forget about setting goals, focus on your system instead. I know this seems like a hot take, and it is, and the author is completely correct. I remember when I was younger and trying to lose weight and trying to get into shape, that I had the same goal as somebody else, but they ended up winning and I ended up losing. That's the idea. Winners and losers have the same goal. So what is the huge difference between those two? The only thing that matters in the long term of things is the systems that people are implementing. So does that mean goals are useless? No. Goals are meant to set direction, but what's better is to not focus on your goal, but focus on who you actually want to be. Do you want to be someone who's fit? Do you want to be someone who's intelligent? Do you want to be someone who is a high value person? Well, that's what should be in your mind. Once you know who you want to be that person. Mimic what it takes to be that person. It doesn't have to be at the large scale that they're doing it, but start small. For example, when I wake up in the morning and I'm getting dressed up and I see myself in the mirror, I know that's not who I am and that's not who I want to be, and I want to be in better shape. Or when I think about the things that I did in the day and how deficient I was as being a Muslim and my servitude towards God, I know that that's not who I want to be, that's not who I am, and I'm going to change that and turn for the better. So just to hammer in this point even more, the author lists a couple of reasons as to why goals are not as amazing as people make it out to be. Achieving your goals is just a momentary change. When you say, I want to have this type of body, well, let's say you do end up reaching that body. Are you just going to return back into your bad habits? Well, the sad reality is that many people do, and they go back and they lose all those good habits that made them maintain who they were. Reality is you want to be at a place where your system is so well that you look good all the time. Another reason why goals aren't as important as systems is that they actually restrict happiness. How many people have you seen say that, I'll be happy when I reach this X amount of money, or I'll be happy when I reach this body, or I'll be happy when I reach this level of spirituality, or whatever it is. The reality is that most people don't actually end up being happy when they reach those points. So this idea that, you need to reach a certain level in order to be happy is completely bogus. The reality is that you want to be living a life that is in optimal conditions. For example, I have tons of respect for, let's say, a fat person who's going at the gym every day, working out, eating healthy, versus a skinny guy who is just skinny because of his genetics. He doesn't work out, he doesn't take care of his health, and you know that it's going to screw him at the end of the day. The final summary point is that you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Basically, what this is saying is that you can set your goals as high as you want or as low as you want, but in reality, what will actually bring you down is your system at play. If your system is bad, if you're not implementing these small habits to improve yourself at the end of the day, then that's what's actually going to make you fall. Not that your goals were in the wrong direction. So some final takeaways for you to take from this chapter is the small things matter. The small good things you do matter, and so do the small bad things that you do. Basically, the self-help journey is a marathon, not a sprint. Another takeaway is to look back in the day and see what bad habits are really slowing you down. Just recognize them. That's the first step. The next takeaway is don't fixate on your goals. Fixate on who you want to be and mimic that person, even if it's at the smallest of levels. Is that a healthy person? Is that a person closer to God? Is that a fit person? Is that an intelligent person? What is it that you want to be? And mimic it. The next takeaway is be patient and trust the process of your system. It takes some time, but eventually you will get to the point that you want to be and you will maintain it as well. So that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one where we go into the next chapter of Atomic Habits. See you guys. Have a wonderful day.